Greetings, Spirit Island fans. Horizons to Spirit Island came out on digital recently, so I think I'll take this opportunity to get ahead of the Spirit Spotlights and spotlight one of these new spirits. Let's go with Eyes Watch from the Trees. Even after centuries, the Dahan find many things about Eyes Watch from the Trees somewhat enigmatic. Is it a spirit of the trees themselves, or a spirit which inhabits the trees as its home? Is it one spirit, or many, or a sort of collective spirit? Despite these uncertainties, most Dahan trust the spirit. It warns of danger, helps those lost or injured in the forest, and only works mischief on aggressors and the arrogant. Back in the days of the First Reckoning, its faint whispers were a source of dread, but the current generations, they're familiar and expected part of the island. I imagine as these spirits seem to be unplanned, or at least semi-unplanned, they might not have as much lore to them. The Watchers do bring up an interesting thing though. The ambiguity as to whether it is a singular spirit, a many spirits, or a collective mind does lay down the sheer variety of existence for the spirits. Most of the spirits we play seem to be singular creatures, which does make it weird how a spirit presence can be spread all over the place. A few we can speculate as being collective minds, although we can't prove many minds think as one to be one because, well, it's in the name. I've seen some speculation that Thunderspeaker and Sharp Fangs also work as group minds, and that each of their presence tokens is essentially an avatar for the spirits. I don't think we yet have a spirit that is a collection of smaller spirits, although we do have a Blight card for that. Now, the Watchers themselves seem to be the embodiment of a feeling of being watched when you can't see the observer. Aside from being watchdogs though, it's not entirely clear what they do. It is clear that they do things, as the cards and powers they have imply they communicate with the Dahan and can kidnap invaders as well as doing mischief of some kind. But the mechanism of actually doing so isn't stated. They seem to occupy a similar idea as the Angler Frog, mysterious force that leads people around, but with a more protective and voyeuristic feel. But enough about lore and speculation, you are here for the mechanics. I'll admit to choosing this one because their deal is really simple. While each of the Horizon spirits are beginner friendly, I'll admit that a few of them I'm still learning how to optimize. But the Watchers speak to me, as they play in strong defense. I fell in love with this one as soon as I saw their special rules. Dahan trust the Watchers. Whenever they lay down a defense, they can also gather a Dahan. This means you can ensure good Dahan retribution. Defend the spot, and then bring in 2 damage for the Ravage. Well, considering this rule, you will not be surprised that this spirit has a lot of ways to lay down shields. Their innate power, Mischief and Sabotage, has the Watchers gain some fear and lay down a defend, both of which scale up as the thresholds are met. And the lowest threshold for 2 defense only requires 1 moon and 1 plant. And since the Watchers get both of these in their presence tracks, as well as having those elements in their starting powers, you will get to use this almost every turn. Its only limitation is that it requires a sacred site adjacent to the land you are protecting, and that land having invaders in it. So if you're using this less for defense and more specifically moving Dahan around, you will need to be choosy about how you do it. It's also worth noting that if you were to max out your spirit, they can reach the last threshold on this power using the cards and free elements given to them. 4 plant, 3 moon, and 2 air among the cards, as well as 2 free plant and a free moon and air, and you can reach the threshold without too much trouble. Now let's look at their cards. We have 2 fast and 2 slow. Fast power number 1 is Boon of Watchful Guarding, a power that allows you to place a Defend 4 or a Defend 8 directly on a spirit's land, be it your own or a friend's. To get to Defend 8 though, whoever is hosting the defense needs to pay an energy. Still, 1 energy for a Defend 8 is a very small price for a really good defense. Next is Mysterious Abductions, which produces some fear and deals 1 damage at range 0. This is obviously good for booting out explorers that dare trespass into your land, or other lands if you have been given a range extender. And it being a fast power means you can react to Explorer actions instead of preparing for potential Explorer actions. It won't do much good against towns and cities, but since it's a damage effect and not a destroy effect, it can still help whittle down for those other effects. Moving on to our slow powers, Whispered Guidance through the night has our Watchers gather up 3 Dahan in a land in or adjacent to the Watcher's jungle, then produce fear if Dahan and invaders are there. This is the only effect that Watchers have that is terrain specific, and it isn't a huge effect, but a helpful one. Collecting Dahan for a big hit, or to move him out of a place you already hit, is always good, but it isn't an effect you need to build yourself around. And finally, eerie noises and moving trees generates fear and can push to explorers and or towns from one land. And easy pushes are always good for setting up kill zones or moving problems elsewhere. So we have a nice set of cards here, but let's look at our growth options. Our reclaim option is pretty standard. Get your cards back and get a new card as well as some bonus energy. Our second option has us place 2 presents down, one at a range 2 and another at a range 0. This means you can plop down a sacred site with ease. And since the innate power requires a sacred site, you will probably plop down some sites to serve as watchtowers for the purpose. See what I did there? It's a lot like my favorite murder bird, Lightning, who places towers for themselves to shoot down buildings. The last of the Watcher's growth options has them place a presence at range 3, gain a power card, and gain a bonus energy. And guess which growth option is my favorite? 1 presence and 1 power is always a great thing for your spirits, giving you that option to keep putting down presence while delaying your reclaims. But the presence at range 3 is also especially good. Not only can you jump over a lot of the island to where you need to go, but if there is a particular problem spot, you can zoom over there and plop down a boon of watchful guarding for an easy 8 defend. Now that the growth options are covered, let's go to our first turn recommendations. This is going to be a sparse one here, as it seems that Greater Than Games has done a good job in making sure the Horizon spirits can hit the ground running. This one I only had 2 turns of set ideas, and I don't even have a set order for them. You just need to do the second and third growth options in the first 2 turns. You will want to plop down a watchtower where you can get good coverage for your element power. But of course, since invaders are not ready to ravage until the second turn, defends aren't immediately necessary. I recommend on a smaller map, 1 or 2 boards, do the second option and put down a sacred site, then on round 2, cover up a spot that might need help later while getting new powers. Swap this for larger maps. Go for distance first, and then place a watchtower for your element power. And for both cases, I do recommend that you get the first 2 slots of your presence track and the first from the bottom, to get an income of 2 and a card play of 2. You will note that our Watchers don't have a great energy income, except that 2 of their growth options give them bonus energy, so oftentimes you will end up with a bit more energy than the track will indicate. Even more, the one option that doesn't have extra energy can still shoot up your income. So if you are planning your turns around your income, you might end up with more energy than you expected. Looking closer at the tracks again, you will see extra plant, air, and moon, all of which you need for your element power. That bonus air though seems like it's placed a bit early, as air isn't needed until the 3rd threshold. That element does seem to stop me from going further in that track for some reason. My mind goes, oh, I don't need air right now, let's focus on income. Even though I will need those card plays eventually. More of a me issue, but if it hits me, it probably hits someone else too. Speaking of elements, there is something worth noting. Watchers wants plant, moon, and sometimes air. Rampant Green wants plant, moon, and sometimes water. This means that these 2 spirits likely won't get along very well. If spirits want the same elements, that means they need to compete with each other for power cards with the elements they want. So getting cards you need will be a bit challenging. You should expect similar troubles with Rising Heat and Lightning. As with power cards, you could probably expect what I will say here. Get major powers that like plant, moon, and air, and your cards also give you a smidge of fire, animal, and earth for you to branch out a bit if you want. But of course, what you will enjoy most are defend powers, so you can make use of gathering Dahan all over the place. So in a way, having multiple minor powers that provide defend might be more useful than a major that provides a lot of defense, if you want to gather Dahan into a kill zone. So really, you will probably choose majors based on cost here, since the income of Watchers is okay but not great. The defense you provide and the reinforcements you bring will provide that edge to eliminating the unwanted visitors. And that is Eyes Watch from the Trees. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Take care, friends. Greetings, Spirit Island fans. Horizons of Spirit Island recently came on digital recently, because that's a wonderful sentence right there. Giving you that option to keep putting down presents while declaying? What?